Hi everybody, Dr. Hirsch here. I've received lots of questions from students who have some concerns about how to make an informative and visually pleasing graphic for the 400G poster presentation. So I thought I would make a quick tutorial video that would highlight some common ways I've seen students do this successfully, and then show you guys how I go about making my own. Real briefly here, so there's four ways that I think are effective to do this. The first is to use software to develop your own image. So this is people with some sort of graphical art background. You can use Photoshop, Sketchbook, Painter, even in PowerPoint if you're patient enough and have access to the different drawing tools there. I think this looks the best if done well, but it requires advanced skills or comfort with the technology that I just haven't seen most students in the classes like this I've taught before. So I see this less commonly. The second is hand draw your own image and scan it directly into the poster document. This generally looks pretty good, but if there's any problems, you have to redraw it from scratch, and it takes extra time. A third way that sometimes looks okay is to find internet images for each of your disease cycle steps. Most of those images are square, so the image, the total cycle kind of looks chunky, and you have to cite every image to keep the citation guidelines intact. So this looks all right, but it's not terribly great looking when it's presented up on a poster. And the last one that I think will be more approachable for most students is to hand draw each graphic and then create a composite digital image in PowerPoint. And that's what I'm going to do here, just to show you guys what I think will be most functional. So here's some tips for this. So first, get yourself a piece of clean white paper and draw clear images for each of your disease cycle steps, and use thick lines. For mine, I used a Sharpie. And then use your iPhone or other phone to take digital pictures of each of your images, and be sure to avoid shadows. If you just lay it flat on a table and then loom over it and take a picture, you'll often get a phone shadow over that, and it doesn't look good when blown up on a poster. So what I did is I put my piece of paper on a clipboard and held it about a 45-degree angle for my phone so I didn't get any shadows. Limit wasted white space on your image, so get a really, really close picture of your image or crop out the empty space. And then when you do send yourself those digital files, probably as a big email attachment, ensure they're the largest file size possible. That'll help your images not get pixelated when you put them into your final poster. And then once everything's together, we're going to use PowerPoint's arrows and text boxes to complete the image. It's very easily editable, and it makes it just look crisp and you can read it. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this, or what I did. So here's what my images are going to look like once I import them in. I'll delete them now, and I'll show you how I got to this image of a leaf. So first, I drew them on a piece of paper. I took images on my iPhone and then sent them to me. Here's a picture of the image. Also, I should have mentioned this. I'm on a Mac, and I have the most current version of Microsoft PowerPoint. So here in Preview, which is the default Mac image software system, you notice lots of white space around this leaf. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight and crop a very narrow image here that just is the leaf picture. I'm going to use keyboard controls to copy, and then I'm going to paste it into a PowerPoint slide. So you'll notice now, I'll make it smaller, you'll notice now there's still this box of paper color. So I can get rid of that with a couple image formatting tricks. So I'm going to select the image, and this may be different on your computer depending on what software you have. But under Format Picture, which is here on the right side of my screen, here on this tab, or also under the Format tab on top, I'm going to go to the image, which is Picture Corrections, Picture Color. Under Picture Color, I'm going to go down to the bottom to where it says Recolor. I'm going to click on this. And there's lots of different options that'll change my photos around. If I click on this image, black and white 50%, it will turn this into just a stencil image of my leaf. So I would go back to all of my other pictures and do the exact same thing. So that way I just have a black and white grayscale image. Here's what those look like after doing that process for all of my different images. So you'll notice I have a picture of a poorly drawn pycnidium. It's an ascospore, a leaf with an ascospore on it. Here's a zoomed in picture of a germinating ascospore next to a stomata. Here's a ascospore germinated in apersorium, and then here's some subcutaneous or subepidermal growth. So this would be like the infection structure. Here's conidiophores coming out of stomata. Here's what they look like, and then goes back to overwintering. So you'll notice these are all individual images here. So what I'm going to do is up on top, I'm going to go to arrows, and I'm going to start linking these together in a disease cycle. When you make your image first, mine defaults to a small blue line. I'm going to want to change that so everything's consistent. I'm going to go to color under format shape. I'm going to turn it black. And then width, or points here, is the thickness of that line. So I'm going to increase this, and if you watch to the left, my arrow is going to get larger and larger and larger. Doesn't matter what you pick as long as you think it'll look good when viewed from about 3 feet away from your final poster. Once I have an arrow that seems about right, I will copy and paste each arrow, thus saving my formatting selections. And now I'm just going to adapt it and move it around so it highlights each step in my disease cycle. And this is just a representative disease cycle. I don't really base it off any one thing. So imagine then that this is a completed disease cycle with arrows linking all of the different stages in a way that's accurate and visually pleasing. Now we need to add our text. So I will go to a text box, and then you draw your text box in here. You'll see now that I've added a text box and it has all of my different image options. So let's say I'll do this infection. I can make another text box down, let's say over here. This is going to be survival. Survival, I'll spell it right, etc. So imagine you complete this, put your disease cycles, all the stages, along with arrows and all of your images. So imagine now I've underdone all that work and this is now a complete image. What I end up with is having one piece of paper with several dozen different images on there. Some circles, my conidia, text boxes, and these arrows. So what I need to do now, before I copy and paste this composite image into my larger poster presentation, is to highlight all of my shapes and text boxes. I will go to the edge of one of my boxes and I'll right-click. When you right-click, you'll see different options here: cut, paste, front to back, etc. Go to Group, and then in the pull-down menu, go to Group. What this will do is take all of your dozen or so images and combine them into one big image. And this is nice because now when you copy and paste, you're not copying and pasting 20 different images that may or may not change formatting. You're now copying one image. So now I will go to this. I will use keyboard commands to copy, and then I will shift to my larger 3-foot by 4-foot poster template and then copy this directly in. Since both this image and my poster are in PowerPoint, it should work pretty well. You may have to do some formatting once you paste this image into your poster, but I think this will be a good approach for some of you all to develop your own images. You may have to play around with some of the image settings to get your pictures looking black and white like this. If you have color images, you'll have to do it differently. Lots of different ways to do this well. Hopefully this approach helps. Good luck.